Hi, Doc here. We're going to walk through some things we're picking up on. I've set up a new account on the provider GoDaddy.com and had an account set up and a domain, and now I've gotten an email from them that tells me that it's time to go and start setting up the site. So the first thing that I did is I came over to the website that I had just set up, the stoutwebtech.com, and pulled up the website, and this is the first screen that I see. So when you start seeing that screen, then they have got all the settings in place. And it took a little while to get this set up, but it's still the same morning when I purchased all this, and so it hasn't been too bad. So the first thing that I do is I come into this email, and there's information in here. I'm not going to show you some of the information down below just for security reasons, but it gives you customer numbers and user IDs and that kind of stuff. And then you choose log into my hosting account. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring you to the GoDaddy site. And what you need to do is you need to log into the account there using the information that they have provided. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. So after I enter the user ID and password for the account that I'm at, it brings me to this window. It shows you the domains, so if you own more than one domain, it'll show you the information there, and you can access other aspects of it there. Under this hosting tab, it's going to show you where any that you have that are set up, and then I will click on that, and it's going to bring me to my hosting details. And what you'll see is that the site has been set up. It's time for me to do a build. I could either install WordPress, which I'm not going to do, or I could upload my website, and I've not done haven't created one yet. So what I'm going to do is just create a very basic website in Dreamweaver, and I'm going to upload that, just an introduction page, so that we can get past that step, and then we'll go into some of the other things that I want to show you, because really what this is becoming is a lot of information about the back end side of setting up dynamic websites that is probably important for you to know. So I'm going to go into those details. Now when I go into Dreamweaver and set up the site for this, when I add the server information, I need to make sure that I set up both the remote and the testing server. And I have the information that's available there, setting up with FTP. When I test that, it's good. And then I want to go into the advanced, and I need to set up the server model. And since in the case of this video I'm going to be using PHP and MySQL, I'm just going to choose that, save that, and then I close that and set up the site, and I'll go ahead and create an index file and upload that. So now I've gone ahead and created a basic index file, moved it up to the server, reloaded the page, and this is the site that's currently there. So now we can move on to the next step. So then I keep on making my way through the different icons that are here. I can choose to preview the site, and then I choose finish, and that should set up all the DNS stuff that needs to go on. I have the option of turning on the mobile, but for our purposes we're going to be using responsive design, so we're not going to be using a mobile site anyway, and I'm not going to install WordPress. So I can come in here and see that the stoutwebtech.com site is up and working, so we can move on to some of the details that are more specific to what we're trying to learn here. Now, going back to the hosting details section, there's a couple places where you can access information, files and FTP, databases, etc. Now you'll notice that when I click on databases here, I haven't got any set up at this point, so I would have to choose to add one. Now when I choose to add one, the only thing that is possible, because I chose the Linux setup, is to use MySQL. Now what I want to do is I just want to show you I've got another site set up that is set up on the Windows server, and that allows me to use either SQL or MySQL through the same thing. So that's one of the things that you need to get your head around at the beginning is, do you want to use SQL or MySQL? And that will determine which type of server you're going to use. At this point, I don't have a preference. Different people prefer different things, but the advantage of being on the Windows server is that you can use either SQL with PHP or MySQL with PHP, or you can set up a ASP.NET with a SQL server and make it work. So those are the things that you need to look at as you're preparing to purchase your domain and hosting solution. So this is the other website that I have set up with that's on the Windows server, and you'll notice that when I go into manage databases, it gives me a choice of MySQL or SQL Server, and so I've got the ability to use either one of those, and they each have different interface tools for moving databases into place and that kind of thing. The nice thing about the SQL Server is that it installs PHP MyAdmin, which for me is an easier tool to use than the tool that comes with the SQL Server. So let me just move that out of the way, and we'll go forward with this. You know, on this one it's only got the MySQL. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and look at a couple things. One is I've got the ability to add multiple FTP users, and that gives me the ability to set up multiple accounts for the students in this class and associate them with databases, and we're going to walk through all that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add a new username, and I'm just going to use something pretty generic for the demonstration video. I'm going to use student1. Okay, so it'll make you do some unique usernames, so I guess it's for everybody on that server. We'll just try that. There we go. So what it does is it gives me the option to give that person access to all the folders or just a single folder, and it recommends the single folder. And what that does is it limits that person to have the access to just a single folder within the entire website. So it allows you to create subdomains that the person with that user ID and password only has access to that subdomain. And so I'm going to go ahead and create a password and put it in there and finish setting up this account. So I've gone ahead and set up a password here, and you'll notice that there's a pretty specific set of password criteria here. So it's got to be 8 to 14 characters. Each provider may have different ones, but generally speaking, they're going to be similar to this. So then we just create that account. And it goes through the gyrations that it needs to set up that account. So now we have the additional FTP users set up. So we've got the ability to add numerous FTP users, and in fact, it looks like there's 48 remaining. So I can go ahead and close that. And what that allows me to do then is to move on to the next thing, which is the applications. So at this point, I have no applications installed. But I've got my choice here of installing a number of applications here, the different popular applications. And some of these are the ones that you're going to hear about most often. For instance, WordPress is the most common application used for you doing blogs and that sort of thing. Each of these different kinds of applications have different reasons, and you can find out about those in here. But the thing is that those are built into the hosting details. So if what you're trying to do with your site is design a blog, then you would want to install WordPress, and that sort of is their default application. You would want to install WordPress, and that would allow you to, without having to do any back-end development, you can start creating a blog type interface. So just to show you what that sort of looks like, if you go to the musings from Doc T, that is a WordPress blog. And it gives you the interface to do that. We're not going to go into using WordPress in this, but if your goal is to set up a blog, that's the easy way to do it. You don't have to design it from scratch. It builds in, it runs off of a database, and it builds in all of those things that you need to do. So as you're thinking about this, in addition to, I'm going to have dynamic content, you also need to start bringing in all these other ways that you can have dynamic content other than writing scripts from scratch. So I'm going to go back to my hosting details, and I haven't added any databases yet, and that's what I want to do next.